Hey guys, this is Brian with Prokashi.com back in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and today's video is going to be about water-soluble calcium and water-soluble calcium phosphate. Hey guys, one of the cool Korean natural farming inputs that we're going to learn about today is called water-soluble calcium and water-soluble calcium phosphate. Calcium is not, in its natural form, soluble in water. If you have calcium deficiencies, the normal remedy may be to get a little bit of gypsum, a little bit of lime, some powdered form of the mineral calcium, and you can add it to your soil. But the problem with adding calcium to your soil like that is that it doesn't get broken down very well. The plants cannot absorb it right away. If you have a calcium deficiency, you can put lime and gypsum, things like that, onto your plant, but it'll take weeks for you to really see the results. You can go to the store and buy some chemical for blossom end rot, which is a disease that shows up in tomato plants because of a lack of calcium. But natural farming has a way to do it at home, chemical free. So I'm going to show you what I mean by blossom end rot. Blossom end rot in tomatoes is a sign that there's not enough calcium in the soil. And when you have a tomato, you have the flower end or the blossom end, and the rot itself will actually show up here. And if you have symptoms of blossom end rot, this is what they'll actually look like. You see the blossom end of the plant right here. On top you have what looks like a normal tomato, but on the bottom you start having this rot on the blossom end, or the end where the flower was. And I've got it on this plant right here. Here it is. Let me get around that. Here it is here. You can see that on top you may think, wow, I've got a beautiful tomato, and then you look down onto the bottom and find out that you have this going on. And that's a sign of calcium deficiency. A lot of diseases in agriculture can be traced down to mineral deficiencies, and specifically calcium deficiencies. So today I'm going to show you how to make a Korean natural farming input with stuff that you would have at your home that'll help either reduce or eliminate some of these problems that you see. Alright guys, to make water-soluble calcium, you just need to take something that you have at the house, or most everybody would have at the house, and that would be eggs or bones. Calcium is a mineral. It doesn't dissolve in water, so how are we going to make water-soluble calcium? Excellent question. Let's figure it out. First thing we're going to do is we're just going to take, in this case, some eggshells. Just your standard egg is all calcium carbonate. And what you're going to do is collect them. This is just a few or a small number of them. You're just going to collect them. And the first thing we're going to do is put them on our grill or in a pan, and we're going to roast them over a flame. What I did here is I took a little bit of tin foil and made a boat. And I've already taken some eggshells, and I have them roasting very gently. You don't have to have a very high heat, just a medium to low heat, and let them roast for, I don't know, until they're charred like you see here, but that'll be about 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes depending on your heat. What you're trying to do is to burn off the volatile organics. Calcium is a mineral, so it won't burn, but the egg that we're using has moisture in it, it has organic materials, it has oils and things like that, so what we're trying to do is to burn that off. So what you can do is you can put your eggshells on a flame and just let them toast up. Don't have to break them up, just let them sit there and toast, and they're going to turn dark probably in the first couple minutes, and then after a while they're going to start looking like these guys in the back here. Now the water-soluble calcium, what we're going to do is we're going to, after we put it on the grill, we're going to put it in vinegar. And what's going to happen, vinegar is a very mild acid, and then the eggs are calcium, which is a base, and when you put the two together, they're going to fizz. And what you're actually going to be doing is taking the calcium that is locked up and stored in here, and you're going to use vinegar to bubble it into a solution. Once that goes into solution, then it's water soluble. We have the calcium that is being broken down by the mild acid of the vinegar, and that can mix with water, and then we're going to make water soluble calcium. And this is what you can do. The vinegar that you can use, the traditional method for Korean natural farming, is brown rice vinegar. The reason they use that is because, number one, that's what they have. But brown rice vinegar is a very interesting product. It has a lot of medicinal properties. Even though it is an acid, when it's metabolized by the body or broken down by plants, it actually has an alkalizing effect. It has a lot of trace minerals, a lot of trace nutrients. It has a lot of vitamins, a lot of enzymes. So of all the vinegars, the brown rice vinegar is probably the one you want to use, but the problem with that is it's expensive. So what I use is something that's a little less expensive, is cider vinegar, apple cider vinegar. When you get your vinegars, make sure you get a brewed or a naturally brewed vinegar. If you get a vinegar that is distilled, that's through a heat process. Some of the vitamins, the nutrients, the enzymes, things like that, due to the heat process and the distillation process, are either lost or they're denatured. And when they're denatured, that means that they're chemically broken in a way that they don't retain those properties that we're looking for, those beneficial properties. So once you have your eggs, and you can see this is just maybe a minute or two here, once you have your eggs roasted, and these are going to have to go for a little while, you would cool them off, collect them up, and you can break them up a little bit, like this. You would take that broken up bits, and you would put them into some container. In this case, it's just an old pickle jar that I have. And you can see the eggshells that are in the bottom, and on the top is the vinegar. So put about 1 part, I don't know, say 1 part by volume of eggshells and 3 parts volume by vinegar. Some people say 1 in 10. Ultimately, guys, what you're looking to do is put a quantity of your broken up eggshells in here and cover them over with vinegar. And what you'll notice is that the shells will actually fizz, bubble up, and come up and down, and they're going to release carbon dioxide. That's the process by which acid of the vinegar releases the calcium of the eggshells, and you'll have this liquid. Now, when we do this, obviously we're going to have eggshells in there, and then we're going to have the calcium. But where does the phosphate come from? Where does the phosphorus come from? And that's the really interesting and cool thing. Phosphorus is a byproduct of burning or charring. So when we work with our eggshells here, if we roast them slowly and we just get all the organics and the volatiles out of there, we have calcium. But if you actually burn and char, that burning process is what we're looking for. And the more that you burn the eggshells, the more of that dark burning you see, that's the more, or the greater volume or the greater amount of the phosphorus. So if you wanted to make just a calcium only type of solution, you could just lightly roast the eggshells without necessarily burning them and put that in your vinegar. If you want water-soluble calcium phosphate, you want that phosphorus in there for flower production, flower blooming. You want the phosphorus to make the fruit sweeter. If you want to add that to the mix, start the burning process. It's that charring and that burning. And in this case, we're just using eggshells, but you can also use bones. So if you have some beef bones, some pork bones, some chicken bones, rather than throw them out, try to pick them as clean as you can and then put them on your grill on a high heat. What you're going to do is you're going to burn off the fats, the meats, and stuff like that. And you're also going to burn off the organics that we were talking about, and let them char. And that may take maybe an hour. Put them on high heat and let them go. Really get them nice and hot. And then instead of using eggshells, you can use your bones and put that in your brown rice vinegar or your cider vinegar. Again, remember, try to stay away from white distilled vinegars. Bottom line is they just don't have all the nutrients, the vitamins, the enzymes that we're looking for. And everything about Korean natural farming is about a living product. So if we're putting a vinegar in there that doesn't have these minerals, it doesn't support the life. If the enzymes are denatured from the heat, they're not going to work. And without enzymes, we don't have chemical reactions. And no chemical reactions, we don't have nutrient turnover. We're not providing food to the microorganisms. So go ahead and whatever vinegar you use, obviously the best is going to be brown rice vinegar. Just make sure it's brewed, okay? So again, all you do is you take your eggshells or your bones, whatever you want, put them onto a plate, or if you got to do this inside, if you don't have a grill, you can do this inside. You can put them on a frying pan and then just let them roast. Stick them in an oven, guys. Put them on the broil in the oven. Put them on bake in the oven. Just get them hot. Burn off all that stuff, and you may be able to see every now and again a little bit of the stuff burning off. And then take those, put them into a container, and cover them with your vinegar. What you're waiting for is that the fizzing stops. When you see the fizzing stop in about 7 to 10 days, you know that the acid of the vinegar has reacted with the calcium of the eggs or the bones. And you would say, well, I'm going to spray this on my plants. Isn't the vinegar acidic? And yeah, it is acidic. It's probably about a pH 5, pH 4, I don't know, somewhere in there. But the acid, when it reacts with the eggshells or the bones, you neutralize it. So basically, you're going to have something close to a neutral pH. Even if it's a touch acidic, most plants like something slightly below 7.0 pH, which is absolutely neutral. That's pH of water. So a lot of plants, a lot of soils for what we grow in our gardens, they like to be somewhere in the area of maybe 6.5, 6.3. So if the solution is just a slight bit acidic, it's really not going to hurt anything. So the next thing is, how do we use it? What you would do is after 7, 10 days, or however long you want to keep it, you would take your solution right here and you would just strain it out. You'll take this, pour it through a fine sieve, a sock, whatever you want, and then you're going to collect that into a jar. Once you collect this, unlike some of the other natural farming things that do have a shelf life, this stuff will last forever. Once it's in that soluble form, as long as you keep it in a jar, you're good. It just won't go bad. Just like certain vinegars and wines and things like that, they get better as they age. Same thing with this. Now you will notice that the vinegar most likely will not be enough unless you pour a huge honking amount of vinegar in there to a small amount of the egg or the bones. The vinegar itself will usually not be enough to dissolve all the bones or all the shells, and that's not to worry. Go ahead and strain off the vinegar liquid. Now it is actually your water-soluble calcium or your water-soluble calcium phosphate, again, depending on how much of a burn you put into the process on your charring, and put more vinegar in on top. As long as you've got the shells in the bottom like this, you still have a calcium source. So go ahead and just fill it back up with vinegar, give it a good stir, and let it go back into the process. Let the vinegar go in there, try to dissolve everything, and then it'll solubilize all of your calcium. Once you have that done, just go ahead and take your strained liquid, put it into a container, and set it up. If you want to use it for your plants, and I will obviously be using it for my plant, you can see that I do have blossom end rot on one plant, and that plant's been giving me some problems. You'll take 1,000 parts to 1, meaning 1 ounce to 1,000 ounce, or you can go as strong as 500 to 1 ounce to 500 ounces of water, and you're going to spray your plant. The best time to add water-soluble calcium is when the plant is spindly or weak, because the calcium actually helps build the structure of the plant. If you're starting to notice some disease or fungi or fungus, like some mildew or something, spray that on there. A lot of times a fungus is killed by changing the pH. Usually there's a water element, there's a pH element, and there's a light element usually. So if you've had a lot of rain, and I've had a lot of rain, that's why I'm going to put this on my plants. The calcium in the soil can easily get washed away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, in my case, 500 parts of water, which is basically a Homer bucket, a 5-gallon bucket filled up to about the 4-gallon mark. I'm going to put 1 ounce of that in there, and I'm going to mist my plants top and bottom. I'm going to do this either late in the evening or early in the morning when the pores of the plant are open. The leaves of the plant are its skin, basically, and they have pores, and those pores will open at night. And they will stay open all night, and then they will close in the morning. So what I'm going to do in a little bit when the sun goes down is spray my plants with a 1 in 500 solution. So if you notice a blossom end rot or a disease, use your water-soluble calcium. If you've had a lot of rain and you suspect that maybe some of the minerals have been washed out, spray then. If you have a plant that's long and leggy, too much nitrogen, it's growing faster than it can actually build a good solid structure, go ahead and spray your water-soluble calcium. Now for the calcium phosphate, plants need food at specific times, and water-soluble calcium phosphate, the burned part, the phosphorus part, is best utilized when the plant is out of its vegetative state. It starts off and it's got to grow. It's got to make all the green stuff. So you can put water-soluble calcium on at that time in high nitrogen. Once that green growing part is reached its peak, you're going to notice you've got this little lag time, this idle time, and in between the growing and the flowering, it's called a changeover period in Korean natural farming. That's the time you want to start adding water-soluble calcium phosphate. The phosphorus is a mineral. The phosphorus is what it needs in this changeover period. It's going from a child to an adolescent stage. And in that adolescent stage, it needs certain nutrients, it needs certain vitamins and things like that. So the phosphorus or the calcium phosphate is best sprayed as a foliar either early in the morning or late at night during that changeover period when the plant is going from just growing green to just before it sets flowers. If you have a plant like tomato, for instance, that'll set flowers all summer long, go ahead and you can spray it, the foliar, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 500. You can spray that all summer long because it's always producing flowers. The water-soluble calcium phosphate will increase the flowers. It'll increase the number of buds that it puts out. And not only will it do that, while your plant is producing fruit and that fruit is ripening, the calcium phosphate will also help make the fruit sweeter. So if you have a blueberry bush, strawberries, in my case, I have some blackberries, grapes, whatever, you can go ahead and use calcium phosphate to increase the sweetness of your fruit. So again, calcium is good for the structure and growth. It's basically building the bones of the plant. Calcium phosphate, the phosphorus, is for the changeover period. Once all the nitrogen, the early part of the growth is over and you're in that idle stage and crossing over into the flowering stage. And the phosphorus is also good to make your fruit sweet. So it's a quick, simple, easy little input. There's really nothing to it. Any calcium source. If you have oyster shells, use oyster shells. If you live lucky enough to live near the water or near the ocean and you've got crab shells, you have shrimp shells, that's chitosan. That is a calcium source. Go ahead, do the exact same thing. Take your shells, whether it's eggshells, bones from the animals, shells from shellfish such as oysters, shrimp, crab, stuff like that. When it comes to the shrimp and crab and the oysters, really cook them well because it takes a while for all those oils to get out of the shell, and roast them on the grill. And once the smell for the seafood goes away, then you know it's done. It'll probably smell kind of funky until you're done, but keep roasting it until the smell goes away and you'll see the shell color change, and then cool it off and then put it in your vinegar. So if you have any questions, check me out on Facebook, Twitter. Go to my website, prokashi.com, or write me a little note, and I'll do my best to get back to you as quick as I can. Thanks for watching. This is Brian. We'll see you next time.